Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Profile Matters. I am your host, Cameron, and I wanted to apologize for how long it's been since I've been back. I know I was out for the month of October, and October is a difficult month for me to do podcasts and stuff. Got a lot going on, around Halloween, All Hallows Eve, things like that. So there's a lot going on that month. So generally speaking, I don't really do. I'm not gonna really do a podcast. I think around October, but if I find the time, generally speaking, I'd like to do one. I want to apologize for us not having the fluidity like I expected to be able to do them like, once a week like I had planned. Things have come up, when you're an adult, you have your personal life as well as your job, and then everything else kind of falls into place. So it's been taxing, but I would like to be able to start doing them at least twice a month. If not 3 times a month. So we'll see what happens. But I definitely have something really cool in store for you guys for December. But this is November right now, so we actually have a special treat for you tonight. Around the month of November, we all like to celebrate Thanksgiving and being together with our families and things like that. So I thought, since they generally Thanksgiving is around my favorite time of the year because the big feasts and all of the eating, and me myself, I am a food connoisseur, that is for sure, because I love all things food. Nothing's better to me than a nice big old hunk of cheese and huge glass of red wine and I don't know, maybe a giant plate of bacon, steaks, all kinds of meat. Who knows? But since I'm definitely a carnivore, I thought it would be interesting if we went ahead and did something kind of gross for you guys. Actually, my fiance is the one that came up with it. We were watching America's Next Top Designer or something like that, some show that she watches, and it was so funny because she goes. We were talking about, the people are saying who they're wearing, like if they go to the Emmys, like, oh, I'm wearing, I don't know, one of the big things, Prada or something, and she joked and she goes, oh, do you like what I'm wearing? And they're like, oh, who are you wearing? And then she goes, I'm wearing Skin by Dahmer. And of course that is just so wrong because I was like, that's first off, that's gross, very funny and twisted, but also wrong because Jeffrey Dahmer never wore his skin of his victims. He just ate it. That would have been more like Ed Gein's thing, but we'll go over that later. But it got me thinking. I was like, well, what should we do for our next one? She goes, you should totally do one on, the Milwaukee Cannibal, Jeffrey Dahmer. But also said, well, let's also do the co-ed killer, which she didn't realize that he was a cannibal. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I was like, well, we'll go ahead and we'll do Edmund, Kemper, and Jeffrey Dahmer for for November, because of Thanksgiving. And she goes, that is so gross, but perfect. So we decided to go ahead and cover these. This is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and start off with Edmund Kemper. Okay. And then we'll work our way to Jeffrey Dahmer. I don't expect it to be a very long segment. Again, I do apologize. Got a lot of stuff going on, getting ready for the holidays, things like that. But I will go ahead and tell you this. Next month we are doing Ted Bundy. That is definitely who we're going to do for the month of December. So, all right. Go ahead and grab yourself something to eat or a glass of wine, whatever you guys like to do. And I'm going to hop on in here, okay, and slice this open. All right, so Edmund Kemper, nicknamed the Co-ed Killer or the Co-ed Butcher. He practiced cannibalism and necrophilia with his victims, either before or after dismemberment, generally speaking. He was sentenced for the killings of 6 young women as well as his mother and her friend. He did turn himself in. He was not taken seriously at first when he first, when he called in to confess his crimes, and this is a large part because he actually used to hang out at a bar for retired cops, and cops and stuff would hang out there, and everybody loved him, because they called him a gentle giant. Because I don't know if you know this about Edmund Kemper, he was a very big man. I'm talking tall. This dude. when I've seen pictures of him, I mean, he's very towering. He was what you would imagine Michael Myers would really have looked like. Like, he's just that big. He's a big guy. And they were just shocked. They didn't believe him. Finally, he eventually got through and got a detective to come out, and yeah, they figured out everything, from there. When asked what his punishment should be, he did state that he thought he should be tortured to death. Um, of course, that was not the case. He's still around, and he instead did receive 8 life sentences. So yeah. We'll go through his psych profile. His early life, his parents did divorce at the age of 9. His mother ridiculed him constantly. He learned to hate himself, but most of all, women. Displayed many twisted behaviors as a child, including animal torture and pretending he was being executed, via a gas chamber, which was a game he used to play. He buried a cat alive before digging it back up, decapitating it, and did display it on a spike as his first trophy. Reportedly frequently masturbated to thoughts of killing town members and raping them. I'm not sure where they heard that. I guess that was from him himself. I know his mother did lock him in the basement out of fear that he would rape his sister. At the age of 15, he killed both of his grandparents. I believe he bludgeoned his grandmother and stabbed her. I know he shot his grandfather when he came home that afternoon. Yeah, he did. He did shoot his grandfather, though, for sure. I know that much. I'm sorry, it's hard to remember everything when you know. I got an encyclopedia in my head sometimes, and it's just harder to sift through all of it. Get some of those cobwebs out of there. I know that afterwards, of course, he was sent to a mental institution for 5 years, and he was released on parole because he was a model inmate. He did fool them, though. He did. He received a little mental health, stuff after being released. I've thought to be reformed. Again, he did pulled the wool, as it were, over people's eyes. And this is his profile right here. He is known to have all 10 traits to correlate with the serial killer behavior. Single white male, no normal relationships, high IQ. He was diagnosed as near genius. He did poorly in school and employment, unskilled employments. Kemper mostly took mainly to menial jobs. He came from troubled family, abandoned by his father. He had a history of psychiatric problems, criminal behavior, alcoholism. There have been many suggestions leading to his mother suffering from borderline personality disorder. His early life, he was abused, sustained physical, psychological, and otherwise, leading to the feeling of helplessness, humiliation. As stated as above, Kempler's mother wasn't exactly the, motherly saint most people thought she, to be. He had resentment towards father, leading to problems with male authority figures due to dominant woman rule. Hostility towards women is also common. He did shoot his grandparents again, the first year of living there. Chose women as preferred victims, for the most part. He manifests psychiatric problems at the early age. Did spend time, like I said, in a mental institution, and did torture animals. Social isolation. He didn't really have a popular notion of being around the world. A general hatred for the world, and which he did try to kill himself at least twice while waiting trial. Interest in deviant, violent sexual behaviors. It was suggested that he created a fantasy of rape and murder by the age of 10. And he was diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic. And the last thing we're going to roll through here, he did prefer knives and pistols as his weapons. He did prefer women as his victims, often photographed the bodies. He did have sexual intercourse with the corpses before and after decapitation. would keep the head, separately and use it for intercourse once it was removed. Also used the viscera for acts as well. Okay, and let's see. Yeah, he did use the viscera for those as well. Um, and this is the interesting part for the cannibalism part that it runs into. He did use on more than one occasion the flesh of his victims in macaroni casserole, as weird as that is to say, uh, which is a shame because, I do love macaroni casserole. Um, I love macaroni anyways in general. Baked macaroni, oh my god, baked macaroni is amazing. My aunt just made some awesome macaroni cheese over the weekend. So actually, when I was eating it, I was like, I love macaroni. And of course, my fiance looked at me, and we both kind of smiled inwardly because we knew what we were smiling about. Couldn't really bring it up over dinner conversation though. Tends to put a damper on family social gatherings when you start talking about serial killers. Um, Now, the body disposal, he did do dismemberment and dispersal. Often used forensic countermeasures such as removing the bullets. Last two murders of his mother and best friend were especially brutal. The mother died of blunt force trauma, the use of the hammer before being decapitated. Um, and then he did have intercourse with the remains. Put her larynx in the garbage disposal. Kind of symbolic for her harsh words over the years, I would imagine. And the best friend was called over for dinner only to be strangled, and her corpse violated through the night. Um, and the last thing we'll cover with him is the additional information. Um, as profiling was kind of an emerging practice at the time of the arrest, he did become a key candidate for interviews, and kind of the template for future analysis of potential serial killers. It kind of sets him apart, from the hustle and bustle of some other serial killers that we're probably going to talk about, um, you know, and move through that generalization. So that was Edmund Kemper. And Edmund Kemper, you can definitely check out. There's some really good interview videos on YouTube. I would highly recommend you checking them out. Very interesting, so definitely check those out. All right, so we're moving on from Edmund Kemper over to, give me 1 second, I'm adjusting my volume here. Make sure I can hear you guys well. We're going to move over to Jeffrey Dahmer. Now, Jeff's is very interesting because, sorry, I like to use my notes rather than just jumping straight from my mind, or from my mouth, I should say. I like to use these notes. They're very, very good. I have to thank my fiance for that. She does a fantastic job. I love her very much. So, the next one, of course, is Jeffrey Dahmer, also known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, or the Milwaukee Monster, as some people called him. He had a lot more victims, a total of 17. Let's see. Yeah. He did have 17. I was double checking that number because I had one on here that looked like 18, but it was 17. I just can't read because I don't have my glasses. He was known for his use of cannibalism, he was a bigger cannibal than, of course, Edmund Kemper was, and for his necrophilia involved in the murders. He did die in prison from being beaten to death by another inmate. What's interesting enough is after he was caught, and he was going through being reformed. His dad had said in an interview that he was just doing so well, as far as trying to, atone for for what he had done, and had gotten better, as far as trying to work towards something, and knowing that he couldn't be released back into society. He was at least doing what he could to try to make amends, because he knew what he had done, and and on some level, I think he kind of was starting to feel more remorse. I mean, this is a man who, yeah, he did kill, a lot, but at the same time, he had to drink to actually perform the act. He was an alcoholic, yes, but he couldn't perform or the acts of the killing without being completely drunk. When sobering up, I can't imagine what he was feeling to have to drink more. He drank more and more, I'm sure, to make himself forget. Again, not saying that that's an excuse, but it definitely does call into question a lot of his motives. But since he had tried to reform himself, he had gone to a lot of he had become born again Christian, and he become born again, and he was working very hard to try to make amends, and he was actually beaten to death by another inmate with a bar, and the another inmate's nickname, unknown at the time, but later discovered to be was Jesus, which still sends shivers down my spine when I think about it. It was when you hear it, it's almost like it was karmic justice in a way, but it's just very interesting. But yeah, we'll continue on. Now, his early life, he seemed like a shy and obedient kid. He parents and nothing bad to say about him. He was a good kid. He really was. He loved being social, living out and active. He started to show signs later on when he would collect roadkill, and this started when his father actually there's something that had gotten stuck under the house, and his father helped him take out the bones from the animal that had gotten stuck under there. And he just he said he loved the sound of them when the bones would hit the metal and the pan that his dad was helping him collect the bones with. And that's when his dad kind of started to worry a little bit. His mother had shown signs of mental and physical illness that caused a lot of household tensions. He started collecting the roadkill in his preteen years, and had a big interest in big interest in other things regarding the roadkill. But he didn't really have any other hobbies or social interaction with kids. In high school, he divulged in alcohol excessively. He would drink and drink and drink. In one actual event, one of his classmates stated that he had actually had a bottle filled up with whiskey, and his one of his classmates, she asked him, well, "What do you have in there?" And he stated, "This is just my morning juice to get me through the day." And he would get completely drunk in the middle of class. Definitely not a good thing. Which that definitely escalated into adulthood. After high school, he was forced to enroll into the Army because his dad was like, "All right, time to go. Need to do something." So he was forced to join, hoping to kind of straighten him out. He was modeled while he was in there. He was only kicked out due to the alcoholism. Around the age of 6, he had started having acting withdrawn, a little bit more kept to himself. His parents did divorce, although he was, after he turned 18. His previous record states that although he was arrested multiple times on sex-related charges, such as 2 courts of public exposure and molesting a 13-year-old boy, he had a lot more going on. He suffered from some delusional behavior. A big one was he believed that he could turn his victims into zombies, and this kind of goes on to the whole. He wanted to keep them around the people that he had, that were his victims. He didn't want so much to kill them. He was trying to keep them there for as long as he could, as his willing sex slaves. The bigger thing, though, that happened was, that's why he would kill them and eat them. When he ate them, he said it gave him a sense of thinking that they were with him always, inside of him, which in a way, in his own twisted way, does make sense. And I could see where he would do that. And that, in my mind, that, shows a clear indication of, has severe separation anxiety or severe separation, issues, which probably deems back, of course, to his mother eventually leaving and things like that. Now, sources did indicate that he was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, you know, um, schizotypical personality disorder. Yeah, and of course, psychotic disorder. Although he was declared sane enough during to stand trial, and wasn't, after they took him in, he definitely was not declared, you know, insane. His murders and methods, his preferred, he did prefer young men. He was really down with. He had, entered into the gay community, or going to gay nightclubs, gay bathhouses, things like that. And he was always looking for the leaner looking guy, tall, handsome, abs, things like that. Those were more of his types. And he wasn't considered a bad looking gentleman as it was. He was considered on, many occasions to, from what sources say, kind of the honey in the gay community. He usually strangled them. That was the preferred method. Would occasionally drug or torture the victims. He kept many souvenirs, bones, skulls, organs, especially pictures of the victims' corpses. He would even keep the pictures of the victims as it was happening. Like what he was doing to the bodies and to them. He would keep those Polaroids. Take snapshots in the middle of him doing that each time. I have seen pictures, the crime scene photos of his apartment, what they got from his apartment, and it was breathtaking, and not in the good way. I'm just saying it was just, man, it was a lot. Like when you first see it, it's just so much. It was everywhere, and his neighbors, of course, everybody complained because of the smell, but no one imagined. No one imagined. Yeah, it was incredible. When trying to create zombies, he would try methods such as drilling a hole in the skull and injecting acid or boiling water to try to make a more submissive lover. He stated he did this when his victims were, when they were still alive. One victim survived the first injection and did wander the streets before Dahmer caught up to him. The police tried to intervene, but, Dahmer did convince the police that it was his boyfriend and he was drunk and he needed to take him home, which the cops, they believed him. He would either, he did like to masturbate onto the corpse or engage it directly in intercourse. A big thing was he, as far as the cannibalism part goes, he kept a lot of the organs in the refrigerator to eat, kind of at his leisure, doing the whole Hannibal Lecter thing, fry them up, eat them with, different types of, vegetables, things like that. At one instance, so when his dad saw him again for Thanksgiving one year, which, interesting enough was his Thanksgiving, his dad asked him, he said he looked very healthy and very lean, and asked him if he had been eating good, and Jeffrey stated, actually, I've just been eating out a lot. And it was kind of just like, when I saw that in the video that he, because it was a video that his dad had been, was filming, and when he's saying it, he didn't seem, he just didn't seem bothered by what he had been doing at all. He was playing with a kitten, as a matter of fact. And it was just, when his dad, was talking about all this stuff, it was just crazy. He did also state, Jeffrey did also state for the record that he did consume livers, biceps, heart, thighs were generally what he went after when eating, what was left. And yeah, when he was going through the interview, his dad was going through the interview and talking about his. I wish I could find a better term to his victims, and to him, to his family, and to their families, and because all in all, you can't just say it's all his fault. It is his fault. He did this, but you know, all in all, you don't want any of it to have happened. I wish that all the other serial killers in the world who could just be normal could have just stayed normal, and didn't have to go out and do all what they've done. And it being it's almost like a substance thing. Again, it's not something they can really control. It's part of. I would say it's part of their DNA, but more along the lines of it's kind of like a drug for them. It's some people like crack cocaine and some people like smashing in skulls. That's what gets a serial killer off. And from what they say or what he said, it was like trying to quit cold turkey, and you couldn't do it. And that goes. Same thing goes for Edmund Kemper. I'd like to say, all in all, it's a tragedy for all of the victims, anything of serial killers. I go through these podcasts just to kind of enlighten, not to so much throw off my personal belief, but I believe all in all, it's a tragedy for all people involved, the killers and the victims. It's a tragedy for all involved, because nobody comes out a winner in those situations. Nobody. But off of my rant, which I go on sometimes, he acid big giant drums. He would, and then when it liquefied to goo, he would dump it into the drain and everything like that. After he was when the arrest happened, a victim had escaped from the apartment and flagged down the police, leading him to the apartment, which was full of evidence. He did resist arrest. The chief medical examiner was said to have said it was more like dismantling someone's museum than an actual crime scene. He pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. The trial lasted about 2 weeks. Jury gave the verdict of guilty on 15 counts of murder. He was sentenced to, of course, 15 consecutive life sentences. At first, he was in isolation when he was in prison. Reportedly, it was for his own safety. He was considered a model inmate, and a self-proclaimed born-again Christian, like I had mentioned before. He was attacked one time before the final time he was attacked. He was attacked with a razor, but only sustained superficial wounds, and was okay. The second time he was beaten and did die on the way to the hospital. And my fiance, she reported to this. She said a treat for me and for you guys. She actually went through and found a list of the evidence and the items they found in his apartment, which I'm going to go through and let you know what they are now. Human head and 3 bags of organs, which included 2 hearts, were found in the refrigerator. 3 heads, a torso, and various internal organs were found inside of a freestanding freezer. Chemicals. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. My thing keeps wanting to die on me. Chemicals, formaldehyde, ether, and chloroform, plus 2 skulls, 2 hands, and a male genitalia were found in the closet. Filing cabinet, which contained 3 painted skulls, a skeleton, a dried scalp, male genitalia, and various photographs of his victims. A box with 2 skulls inside, a 57-gallon vat filled with acid and 3 torsos in it. Victims' identification, bleach used to bleach the skulls and bones, incense sticks that
Neighbors, often complained to Dahmer about the smell that was coming from his apartment, so I imagine that those were for. Tools: a claw hammer, handsaw, 3/8 drill, 1/16 drill, drill bits, hypodermic needle, various videos, some pornographic, blood-soaked mattresses and blood splatters all over the place, and one King James Bible, which is, again, interesting enough. Yeah, that was the last part for Jeffrey Dahmer. Just craziness. When you think about it, I just again, it's very difficult sometimes when I do these because I have to kind of take some stuff will take my breath away because it's just I'm telling you, when I watched the walkthroughs and when I see the interviews, it's just all very sad. But lo and behold, we have made it through another segment of Profile Matters. And again, I do apologize to you guys for the long waits and stuff like that, but we're working on something new, so hopefully we'll have this scheduling thing down. But meanwhile, I hope you guys enjoyed this segment of Profile Matters and learned a little something. Guys, if you ever want to check out these interviews and stuff and these videos, I highly recommend you do it. They're very interesting, if not just to satisfy the appetite to want to learn. That's because again, that's what it's all about. It's learning. So feel free, and those videos are up on YouTube. I will try to include links, of course, on my website. And you guys feel free to click on those and check them out. And if you guys ever have any questions or concerns, or again, any kinds of suggestions or feedback, feel free to post them on Facebook or through our website. There's an area on there for you to post comments and of course send feedback, and I will be notified and reach out to you. Okay. All right, guys. While I'm out of here, my fiance and I are about to go have some dinner ourselves, and I hope you guys have a great evening. I hope you guys had a safe and happy holidays with your family, and I will be back in the month of December, hopefully in my second week of December, and we'll go ahead and we'll cover the 1 hour special for Ted Bundy. All right, guys. I will talk to you later, and hope you guys have a great evening. And this is Profile Matters, and this is Cameron speaking. Have a great night.